Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar. We'll get started shortly here. We're just going to wait for the final attendees to file in. In the meantime, we do have a poll. It's what is your affiliation? And you should see that shortly on your screen. All right, thank you to everyone who answered that. So we'll go ahead and get started. Hello and welcome to the Fall 2021 Roadway Watercourse Crossing webinar series, presented by the Alberta Watercourse Crossing Collaborative and sponsored by the Alberta Conservation Association. My name is Matthew Huberto, and I'll be your host throughout this webinar series. Today we have Bruce Nielsen and Matthew Pyper presenting on the new Provincial Roadway Watercourse Crossing Construction Guidebook. Bruce is an RPF and forest ecologist and the owner of Woodlands North Inc. Bruce has 25 years of consulting experience for forestry industry, oil and gas industry, and government agencies on the matter of watercourse crossings and creeks in northern British Columbia and Alberta. Matthew is an ecologist and science communicator and co-owner of Fuse Consulting. He has facilitated complex collaborations involving organizations with tricky and often competing interests. He draws on these experiences to help advise organizations on collaboration and science communication opportunities to break down barriers and achieve their goals. After today's presentation, there will be a short question and answer period. Questions can be asked by using the webinar toolbar located on the right side of your screen. Without further ado, here's Bruce Nielsen and Matthew Pyper.
Can everybody see that now?
Yep, we can see it, however, it's in presentation mode.
Okay, I'm gonna switch that. How is that?
Still in presentation mode, but if you hit the three or the display settings on top of the screen, you click that, you should be able to swap those. There we go. Perfect.
Great, thank you, Matthew. And thank you for that introduction, Matthew. So thank you everyone for attending to learn about this new and valuable project the AWC is undertaking, the development of a provincial roadway watercourse crossing guidebook, or as we're calling it, let's start doing watercourse crossings correctly. So I'd just like to note this presentation has been jointly created by members of the AWC3 and with the help of Matthew Pyper of Fuse Consulting. Fuse are a group of science communicators that specialize in connecting knowledge to practice and have been extremely helpful to date with this project. We're very grateful. A quick outline of what we'll be covering in this presentation is as follows. An overview of what the Alberta Watercourse Crossing Collaborative, or AWC3, is, what our mandate and our objectives are, and I'll review what we have accomplished in our short history and where we are going. We'll discuss the timing for this guidebook, why now? We'll discuss key factors driving the need for the guidebook, the deliverable, review what the guidebook will actually look like, how it will be created, who will be making it, and then we'll take time for questions at the end with help from Matthew. So the Alberta Watercourse Crossing Collaborative is a registered not-for-profit society in Alberta, formed in late 2019 by a group of folks who all work regularly with roadway stream crossings, and we recognize that this work can be done better if the practitioners, contractors, professionals have more information about the work required and the processes needed to complete the work. Our objective is to aid in recovering lost and isolated habitat that's caused by poorly installed and maintained watercourse crossings. And we're focused on achieving this objective through education of the topic of roadway watercourse crossing management. We believe the problem persists because there's a lack of quality information transfer from regulators and scientists to roadway owners, watercourse practitioners, and their contractors. Our goal is to help link knowledge to practice with the objective of saving and restoring fish habitat and fish populations. So what have we accomplished so far? We hosted a 20-part webinar series in spring of 2020 over a 10-week period that we had 850 unique visitors. We're currently experiencing our second webinar series, and to date we've had over 550 people attend this session. Thank you for that. And in 1 week's time, we'll host a 3-hour watercourse crossing summary technical session on November 18th to wrap up the season. And I'll elaborate more on this event at the end of the webinar. Right now, we're proposing the creation of a provincial roadway watercourse crossing guidebook to help synthesize all of the existing information from all of the different sources into a single place with a new format of delivery. Why is the manual needed now? Don't we have this information already? And haven't we been doing this for a long time? There's several factors why the manual is needed now. Primarily, we're still doing this wrong. Repairs and replacements are being installed incorrectly. Maintenance is not being performed. And when the work is being done incorrectly, the problem is aggravated instead of being solved. This leads to dollars being wasted. The timing is critical. Several native trout populations are endangered due to habitat loss, and the ecology and function of all parts of a low extreme ecosystem suffer from a poorly installed or maintained watercourse crossing, whether it's in the boreal, the foothills, or out on the plains. Current best management practices, standards, conditions, and methods all exist, but they're not a functional resource as they were intended 10 or even 5 years ago. Everyone involved in roadway watercourse crossing work will benefit from a streamlined and summarized guidebook. Practitioners, regulators, owners, contractors, we need to take existing best management practices and roll them out to the practitioner in a more meaningful manner. Another key reason why is people are learning different. How people learn and retain information has changed in the last 5 to 10 years, primarily due to technology. People now seek out and absorb information in short blurbs of 2 to 5 minutes. The preferred medium is no longer reading from paper, but viewing in a media format. Access to information must be simpler and quicker, almost instantaneous in some cases, or people become discouraged. Some learning facts for you, and they were very new to me. When we are learning something new, 50% of our brain is involved in visual processing. 70% of our sensory receptors are in our eyes, and it only takes our brain 1/10 of a second to process a visual scene. which is really amazing considering how many times you could reread an executive summary so you understand a paper. Matthew, do we have a poll for this slide?
Yeah, it should be up on everyone's screen now.
Let me know when I should continue.
Copy that. All right, phone won at 39%, paper came in at 30% in second, and tablet came in third at 20%. And book and memory were both dead last.
Excellent, thank you. So let's review the needs for a provincial roadway watercourse crossing manual, which are numerous. The scale of the problem is large in both spatial and in distribution. The number of predicted fluvial watercourse crossings are in the range of 150,000 in the province. And while the problem is province-wide and seems daunting, the solution is actually achievable. We figure this is achievable because the problem is a point source at roadway watercourse crossings, meaning we know exactly where to fix the problem. We know what we need to fix. We do know how to prioritize the order of the fixes, and we do know how to do it. It's the last part, the how to do it, that has broad-reaching implications if it's completed poorly. It has financial implications to the roadway owner, and it has temporal implications to the species. Information management need. So this project is not going to reinvent how to properly install or maintain a stream crossing. That information already exists. The province, the federal government, our provincial neighbors, even the USDA to the south have all created great documents on how to deal with fluvial fish-bearing watercourse crossings. Some of these documents, like the current master schedule, standard and conditions for Alberta, it has all the answers. It's 120 pages of 6-point font in tabular format and does not necessarily lend itself for ease of instruction or retention. Some of the information is actually proprietary or not open source and cannot be easily accessible to the unaffiliated practitioner. The AWC3 Guidebook will be free and available to everyone. Our goal is to have this 100% electronically online once it's complete. One of the most important rationale for this is the ecological need. Species and habitat recovery. This is the real driver. There is a population loss driver here, and we need to acknowledge that. Our native trout species are becoming threatened and endangered. This is not restricted to small pockets of foothill streams, but it's a wide-ranging problem. The slide in front of you shows two cases, one for the foothills, the bull trout, and one for the boreal, the grayling. The three maps beside each fish are the FSI maps, or Fish Sustainability Index maps, for that species, or how likely is the habitat able to support that population's survival. The maps on the left with lots of green are the historic FSIs, and green is good, red is bad. The maps in the middle are the current FSIs for those same species, and again, green is good and red is bad, and you can easily see the change. The maps on the right side are the habitat protection need, and red and orange are high and very high. Green is low in terms of protection need, and unfortunately, it's also low in quantity on this map. This is the real reason why this guidebook is needed. Additional ecological need is at the site level and can be easily addressed with this manual. This is to educate the operational works to ensure the ecology of a crossing is planned for and taken care of. It's to educate that proper management of the fish, the water, and the habitat creation, it takes time and money. People in charge of the operations, budgets, and construction need to know these steps, acknowledge this time and money, and allow space and budget for people to do this work. When this work is rushed or compromised, the crossings will not work as well as intended. And there's absolutely an operational need, probably the most significant need, and it's also the biggest part of the solution, our operations. We have to plan crossings better. Calculating peak flows, properly sizing crossings to creeks, properly locating the crossing location in the roadway and at the crossing site. Surveying a creek is as important as surveying the crossing site as part of the plan development. We need to educate the next generation of roadway managers and civil techs who will be undertaking this work. So we need to change the way that we have always been completing this work, and we have to be results driven and not budget driven. Additional operational needs. Ensure completions are done correctly. Rushing to completion will result in returning to fix, repair, or redo the work. And we all have lots of stories about this kind of stuff. A better understanding of the long-term end goal when operations are on site can eliminate any negative effect of improper works. Maintenance is needed on almost every crossing at some point, yet very few will get any. Most crossing problems in the low gradient or low velocity boreal region can be avoided altogether with regular or periodic maintenance. An upfront investment of a properly completed watercourse crossing will almost always save money in the long term by avoiding redoing or repairing the works. And again, we all have stories of a crossing site replaced 2 or 3 times before it was properly sized and completed. Oops. And there's a cultural need. Alberta's First Nation and Métis people have sustained themselves on the fishery for millennia. They are now becoming unable to do so in regions as the fishery populations may no longer support this. This is their traditional right to use the fishery, and it's their inherent right, and it will be supported by restoring fish habitat, which is isolated by poor roadway watercourse crossings. There's also a social need to complete this work. Sport fishing and recreational fishing in the province is a large part of our tourism and recreational spectrum and is absolutely being threatened by roadway watercourse crossings. And finally, there is a regulatory need. But let's be really clear here, this is not a regulatory document in any manner. But the finished product will completely support the GOAs and the regulatory agencies within best management practices. Again, these are great documents. They exist and they state an end goal. People just need help interpreting what that end goal is. Regulators will be included in all aspects of this project development. They have been informed of the project and they will be part of its continued development. AER, AAF, and AEP personnel that work within the watercourse crossing spectrum are all aware of this program. Regulators will also benefit as much from a standardized manual that is easily referenced as a watercourse crossing practitioner and roadway owner will. While the regulations and best management practices may state the desired end goal of a culvert installation, let's say is to match water velocities at the output to that of the natural stream channel, they don't always show how to do that. The end result is the most important factor here. Best management practices state what to achieve. This guidebook will demonstrate how to achieve those results. So what will this product look like? The proposed deliverable will be in 3 parts and will be delivered over a 2-year period. A hard copy manual comprised of tech sheets outlining procedures for key subjects will form the foundation of the first deliverable. These tech sheet topics will be decided upon by the project's management team and advice from a volunteer steering committee. And that's you. If any of you wish to be part of this guidebook development, please reach out. We do need help. The second part is a set of professionally produced videos that will follow the tech sheets and provide a visual reference and instruction for service providers, practitioners, contractors who are completing this work on the ground. The third part will be that all of this material is going to be housed within a mobile application that will work offline and can be viewed in the bush at the work site. So what are the timelines of this deliverable? Phase 1 are the hard copy tech sheet and a manual that will be produced in the summer of 2022. The videos will be created over the summer of 2022 and will be produced for the summer of 2023. Once all of the material is completed, they'll be wrapped up in a web-based mobile application that will work offline and in the field, and this will be completed in 2023. How will this be completed? Fuse Consulting has provided invaluable insight and considerable effort to date already, and this company will oversee the project along with AWC3. Subject matter experts on a wide variety of topics will be needed to be consulted. This will include stream ecology and fishery biology, hydrology, civil engineering, site surveys. This is just to name a few. Professional illustrators and videographers will be used to capture end results and process demonstrating the desired end and have the methods to get there. We will be needing reference sites, and if you do have a project that you would like to share with the guidebook team and we could use that site to select source information from, we'd be very grateful. The project team will it'll be managed by Fuse Consulting. The Alberta Watercourse Crossing Collaborative Group will form a layer of the management team. These are all volunteers again, and these will help oversee the project direction. A steering committee will be developed consisting of subject matter experts on all aspects of roadway watercourse crossing. And we hope that this includes industry, the First Nation and Métis communities, regulatory, consultants, and academia. Technical subject matter experts will be solicited for their expertise on topics they specialize in. And once again, we are openly seeking input and volunteers towards this effort. And of course, there will be a final review of all the information as it's completed and before it's produced. We have financial contributors. This is an industry government funded proposal that is being prepared, and we're actively pursuing donations. This donation drive began in August of 2021, this past August here, and we have secured funds from quite a few companies and are working on submitting supporting proposals with other companies to garner additional funds. We would really like to thank those companies that have come forward already and help make this, starting to make this project a reality. The final message here, we are not doing watercourse crossing work correctly, and we need to change how that work is being done. Time is of the essence as we are losing fish populations because of this problem. The problem is fixable with information and educational materials. Current best management practices and watercourse crossing information exist, but they're not being used as intended. And watercourse crossing best management practices need to be reassembled in a format that are easily accessible and in a manner that is more effective. This project is volunteer driven and jointly funded by industry and government, and we continue to seek assistance and funding. With that, I would like to thank you for attending the presentation, and I'd like to acknowledge that this presentation was a team effort. So to the AWC 3 folks and to Matthew Pyper at Fuse, thank you very much, and I'll take any questions that you may have.
Perfect. Thank you for that presentation. And just a reminder, folks, if you would like to ask a question, you may do so by typing it using the GoToWebinar toolbar located on the right side of your screen. All right, so it looks like we have a few questions here. Who do we contact to help with the guidebook? It's a great initiative.
I would contact AWC3, and email is info@awccc.ca. And again, we're a volunteer organization, so the emails get responded to about once a week at this time.
All right. Our next question is, what is the DID source for fluvial crossings?
I thought that question would come up. That number ranges between, the number of fluvial crossings ranges from the high 30s to the low 160s. That DIDS came out of about, I think it was early spring, around April or May. And just so people know, DIDS is the Altalus layer that the digital industrial disposition layer that highlights who owns all the current crossings in the province. All the current roadway tenures.
All right, our next question, who takes the liability for incorrect watercourse crossing installations or repairs? If a professional such as an engineer or forester, is it common for proponents or regulators to file disciplinary actions against them? I assume that it is incorrect application of the correct guidelines. If it is a QAIS that takes the liability, shouldn't this title be a certified or professional regulated body?
That's a loaded question. I'll just jump right to the very end point and say, yes, I do think a QAIS should be certified. Liability with a crossing, that has so many implications on engineering or design. So I actually won't touch that question. I'm a forester and an ecologist, so that goes back to the planning and design and the regulator.
All right, so our next question is, are the FSIs for all fish species in Alberta or just species at risk? Are these publicly available?
Absolutely. If just Google Alberta FSI or Fish Sustainability Index map, and you'll go to the government page, and there's a great list of resources. There's a ton of information on that site.
Okay, and our next question is, what areas do you need support in from volunteers? It's a great initiative and very much needed. Thank you for all your work.
Thank you. For this particular project, what we need are financial contributions. So I think the financial contributions usually come from many floors above where most of us work, and somebody needs to walk this initiative upstairs and say, hey, there's a group of people putting together a guidebook and it's a valuable project. It's only going to cost pennies, literally, and I'm not kidding. To me, this is a drop in the bucket, given the profits everybody's had in the last year in industries. Take it upstairs to the bosses and the power that be and see if you can promote some funds towards the effort. From an AWC3 perspective, we will need help from subject matter experts in developing this book. The steering committee that will be put together, we are going to generate a list out of all the people who have attended our webinars, and we will ask for volunteers at that stage. Would you like to be part of continued development of this guidebook in terms of researching what is required by the practitioners and people of Alberta? So it would be a question and answer type involvement and gleaning data from subject matter experts in that manner. I hope that answered the question.
I'll maybe just jump in here quickly as well, Bruce. It's Matthew. Yeah, I would just emphasize too that as we're developing content, and some of this I think is going to be really straightforward. Some of these, there's going to be different techniques that different individuals are using. So I think having people that can provide perspective on that and provide feedback to some of the content that we're including in the guide will also be an opportunity. And probably the best way to let us know if you're interested in that is just to send an email to the info email address that Bruce mentioned. And then I don't want to accelerate us forward too far, but I think when we start to look towards the implementation of this, that's going to be the really, really essential piece where we need lots of volunteers and lots of motivated people to get the word out and to encourage use of this product amongst their community. I think, we don't want to suggest that just by having a guide and having some videos that exist is going to solve all the challenges. I think the challenge then is getting it in the right people's hands and encouraging staff and field people to make use of it. And we've seen some really successful examples of that in the past, where if we can make this information more accessible, and then volunteers and people within companies are motivated to use it and to share it with their staff, that's where we're really going to see the success. So I think just kind of being in that mindset that when this is ready, helping us get the word out there and helping really empower staff to make use of this information.
Perfect. Thank you, Matthew. We have another question here. Our company has a watercourse crossing manual currently in place. Would this be of value to this project?
Absolutely. Part of what Matthew's team will be doing up front will be collecting all of that information, disseminating it, and yeah, very much. We would really appreciate that.
Perfect. And what appears to be our last question is, oh, actually I was wrong. We got more questions now. Does the PROS Fund ever contribute to this type of initiative?
I am not aware of the PROS Fund.
All right.
I would like to be aware.
Yeah, if the asker could maybe expand on their question and we can circle back to that one. The next question is, are there plans to include links to the product on government websites such as AEP and AER? Do you have a buy-in from promotion through regulators?
Yes, we will absolutely synthesize all of the information that the government of Alberta in all its various agencies, be it Alberta Transportation, Alberta Energy Regulator, AEP, they have their best management practices and we support those 100%. So we will be linking that information into this. I'm going to say we're early on in, not government buy-in, but we're early on in the communications of the product through the government agencies. That's a really big ship, and it's hard to get information throughout it. But we work very closely with the watercourse crossing group in every one of those agencies, and they are all very encouraged by this, and they are all positive towards the development.
All right, and we got some clarification on that. So PROS is an acronym for Professional Regulatory Organizations. So do professional regulatory organizations ever contribute funds to this kind of initiative?
I don't know. I will have to do research on that.
All right, it looks like that was the last of our questions for today.
That's great. The last slide that's on your screen, just to do a shameless plug for Alberta Watercourse Crossing Collaborative. Next week, we have about a 3-hour technical session that's going to wrap up pretty much everything that's important with watercourse crossings in the province in the past year. This has been a very big topic, and it's a dynamic topic, and it's a very important topic. And we've pulled together quite a few speakers, and we're very grateful for their help. The Deputy Minister of Alberta Environment and Parks will be a keynote address at 9 a.m. Wendy Harrison, who's the Watercourse Crossing Program Manager in the province, will give an update on her program. We'll get an update on the status of native trout in the province by the aquatic species at risk specialist, Nicole Pilgrim. And Axel Anderson, who's been developing the Provincial Restoration Index, will give a presentation and a demonstration, I'm sure, of this amazing tool that he is creating, and it will affect how everybody treats watercourse crossings and where and when we're going to be fixing things. It'll be an extremely interesting topic to discuss. And then we'll have a summary by DFO. And at the end of it, Matthew Pyper again has agreed to help moderate a plenary session where we're going to have some key individuals from industry, our local First Nations, a few regulatory folks, and the speakers on the panel. I think it'll be a really good morning on November 18th. You can register for this online at the awccc.ca, and it doesn't cost a dime. And I want to thank everybody as part of this November 18th event too. Everything we're doing is volunteer, so really appreciate it.
All right, thank you for that, Bruce and Matthew, for the presentation today, and to all those who have joined. Join us again November 16th for the New Fisheries Act and ASAR webinar presented by Raymond Jolicoeur. Thank you and have a great day.